Hey guys, Eric and Chris here at Star Wars Celebration, and we've just come from the Future Filmmakers panel where we saw Rian Johnson talk a little bit about Episode 8.
What are you talking about? He revealed everything. He couldn't stop revealing things. Kathleen Kennedy had to dive onto the stage and stop him.
Yeah, it's fair to say we were a tiny bit disappointed. There wasn't any big news that came out of it. But he did talk about some things that are of interest to fans of the franchise, including he talked about kind of a camp he put together where everyone got together and watched movies to prepare. And it sounded like they're going to kind of influence Episode 8 a little bit.
Yeah, he talked quite a bit. I mean, he name-dropped a lot of movies. Bridge on the River Kwai, Sahara, not the Matthew McConaughey version, the old version of it. Several other titles that he said, they watched together, him and all the Lucasfilm, sort of the story group guys, and he said a couple of them really influenced the approach they ended up taking on Episode 8.
Yeah, 12 O'Clock High was the one that he said you'll see a lot of it in Episode 8.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've talked a lot about Rogue One and how it's taking sort of this grittier, more like, movie's called Star Wars, but it still seems like more of a war movie, Rogue One.
Yeah.
But you got the idea with Episode 8, it might also be leaning into that a bit more. Certainly more than Force Awakens.
Yeah, Bridge on the River Kwai is obviously from 1957. It's David Lean, stars Alec Guinness, and that's about a group of prisoners of war in a Japanese internment camp, and they have to build a bridge, but they kind of blow up the bridge, and spoiler alert. But yeah, a lot of war films. Letter Never Sent was another one, which is from 1960.
Yeah.
That's about geologists searching for diamonds in the Siberian wilderness. I haven't seen all of these. I have done my research. Yeah, you mentioned Gunga Din. That was Cary Grant Adventure, set in 19th century
I didn't
India.
mention that one. That's
okay,
all you.
That's a good one. Sahara, yeah, Humphrey Bogart, about an adventure about crossing the Libyan desert. And 3 Outlaw Samurai, which is about a wandering Ronin who teams up with a couple of renegades. And it's interesting, that came up in Rebels, the fact that samurai were going to be influencing, and we know that they influence kind of
Lucas and
so that's pretty interesting. So yeah, I think we need to do our homework and watch all those films to get a bit more up to speed.
I think so. A couple of friends of mine who are like serious classic movie buffs were very excited by all these titles. I've seen a couple, but not all.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool to hear that this is the approach they're taking. Now, of course, it won't be a carbon copy, but to just think that this is what they're trying to evoke.
Yeah.
It sounds like it will be a very different film from Force Awakens, much in the way that maybe Empire was different from Star Wars.
Yeah, sure. They talked a little bit about why Kathleen Kennedy was on stage and talked about why they chose Rian Johnson. And they said he combined substance and dramatic structure with amazing sense of humor.
Yeah.
And they also said that watching him direct was a bit like watching Steven Spielberg direct, the way he moves the camera.
Which was very notable because Kathleen Kennedy has produced an amazing amount of Spielberg movies. So she knows what she's talking about when she says, reminds me of Spielberg. This is someone who's not just saying it flippantly.
Yeah, and aside from that, there was just a lot of behind-the-scenes photographs they showed.
Yeah.
Some from Ryan's own Instagram account, others that were new. But yeah, they talked about the fact that the code name was Space Bear. He said that whenever he was shooting a scene with someone in a helmet, he'd play Daft Punk is Playing My House over stereo. Anything else from behind-the-scenes stuff?
I just remember him saying that don't worry that you're seeing a lot of green screen because he just said that's to keep secrets. Of course, there is some green screen, but they are still going to follow the Force Awakens setup of a lot of sets, a lot of things. So he just didn't want people to think, oh, this time they're going all green screen with it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he talked about, we already knew that they were going to pick up right where they left off with Episode 7. But he talked a bit more about that and said that was important to him, that was too big a moment, seeing her hand that lightsaber, to not follow up with it, which is a huge sort of thing for Star Wars to do simply because they've never done it.
Yeah.
And you do wonder, will they pick up right away and then there'll be a time jump? Or is the movie just going to continue in, the days after Force Awakens?
Well, unfortunately, we don't know because they didn't tell us anymore.
They did not tell us anymore.
But that's it for Star Wars Celebration. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll find out more about this film in the very near future.
I think so. I think by the end of the year, certainly, we'll probably get our first teaser. So
yeah, fingers crossed. So yeah, keep it locked here on IGN for all your Star Wars needs.